Hi, Ralph. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah.
How have you been during the last couple of months?
Oh, busy, very busy. I mean, despite of the pandemic, what's going on, we're all still busy and doing the best we can in preparation to the album and doing the videos and everything. It's a little bit bright here, but it's all right. I might be cheesy, but it's okay. Anyway, yeah, we are all quite busy, and it's a good thing. I mean, we're all prepared to release now and to do. We shot the videos for the album, and it's almost done. So everybody's just really curious about the reaction of the fans.
How is it actually during this kind of lockdown situation to shoot videos? Did you have to take special measures for that?
Yes, there's the first one was almost not possible. It was for Along Came the Devil, and we met in the rehearsing room, keeping the distances with masks before. And it was only Matt, Tom, and I, and the guy who shot the video. And it was close to being not really regular, but we kept the distance. We had masks before we shot, and we were fine. The second one was because everything is already losing up a little bit, so it was more possible with all the restrictions and with all the regulations have to be kept. I mean, we had to still have to have the masks, and we have the what's it called, the disinfection and everything. So everybody was still keeping the distance and was allowed to have a little bit more people together in the room. So it was a little bit more easier for I Am Alive, which is going to be released next week, June 19th. So yeah, it was a little bit more loose, but still restricted.
Hmm.
Magnus couldn't fly in because of nobody's flying so far, and everything is still locked in terms of flying. I think it's also loosening up these days, but it was too close for the release. We had to do the video because we want to just release the singles, right?
Yeah. Well, so obviously you're releasing your new album, Metal Commando. How are you guys feeling about the upcoming release?
Very curious about the reaction because the press is really positive so far. So we are all happy about that. Because when you work on an album, actually, it's like working so long on it. For us, it's already old, but and then you lose control about who is it, how the whole product will somehow reach the market, and if the people will be fine and happy with it. But then when you get the first reaction now from the press, it's just fine. It really, everybody's really happy about it. We get the highest points and the highest comments and reviews, and that's really nice. So now we're waiting for the fans, which are the most important people for us, and we're really happy to release it pretty soon now.
I read somewhere that you mentioned that this album tops Apocalypse, your previous album, and that was already quite positively received by, the metal community. What do you think is so different sound-wise about this album?
Sound-wise, nothing, because we love the sound of Apocalypse. I wouldn't say nothing, of course. You always improve, right? So the entire picture is now sounding a little bit more in order and a little bit more heavy metal again, because I mean Jacob is doing a great job in terms of mixing. We are doing a great job in terms of recording already. The drums were recorded in Denmark already with Jacob, Matt, Michael. Of course, he's drumming, and this is just the entire picture was really growing in a good manner, in a good way. So yeah, we wanted to continue the red line of Apocalypse sound-wise, and that's what we achieved again. I mean, it's sounding just perfect for us. It's just exactly what Primal Fear should sound like.
Metal Commando is also the first album you're releasing again through Nuclear Blast. How has the collaboration been?
I mean, yes, Blast. I mean, there was a change in the team again because we just wanted that. I mean, we were satisfied with the work of Frontiers, but after a decade, sometimes it's good to change a team. It's like working in politics or also in football or wherever you are. Sometimes you change people and you change the team, and it's just going more fluidly again. And we're really happy about how Blast is working for us now, doing all this promotion, regulation, not regulations, but they are somehow organizing everything. And it's just great, it's just they have a great marketing package now with all the packages we release in terms of vinyl, in terms of digipacks and merchandise and so forth. So it's great again to be there with fresh people and with a fresh team.
I also read somewhere in an interview that you mentioned that for the previous album you wrote actually 25 songs or something like that, but of course only half of them usually make it to the album. But what happens to the rest of those songs? Do they form the basis for this album, or did you start from scratch?
No, we are always starting from scratch when we have a new effort, but we have the song still on our hard disk. So this time we even have mixed the song, which is not released. So we always keep these songs, and because sometimes the albums have to have a red line in terms of variety as well. And if too many songs are sounding maybe too similar, we just keep them away and keep them for the next album. Or, and by the end, we have maybe an entire album of leftover songs, which we might release once. We don't know, but there's still good songs, so we don't want to just cancel them and forget them. We want to work with them together in the future to release it in special editions or special EPs or whatever will come.
So, of course, in the end, you need to make some kind of a decision about what goes on the album and what doesn't. What songs do you usually look for to include? Does it depend a lot on the overall, mood of the album, or what does it depend on?
Yeah, like I said, it's the variety. And of course, we want to deliver groove. We want to deliver up-tempo songs with melodies. We want to deliver epic songs. We want to deliver a ballad. So that's quite a lot of variety, and that's exactly what we want. So that's depending really on that. So if there's too many groove songs, or it's too many up-tempo songs, too many mellow songs, or too many epic songs, then you always can choose the chapters a little bit into. It's like it's like writing a book where you have different chapters which just belong to each other.
Mm-hmm. You also have a new member. Michael joined in 2019. Did this change somehow the writing process? Was he already creatively involved with writing this album?
He had no chance because he came in very late. So maybe next time he will be involved in writing, because we all know he is also a good composer. But it didn't change anything on Metal Commando so far.
How did the writing process then go? Is it like the same as always, or did you try out something new?
It's the same like in the last decade. I mean, we've somehow grown together as a good writing team. 5 members are writing. I mean, it's Tom, Alex, Magnus, Matt, and me. And Magnus and Matt are working a lot with the app traps, for instance. Then sometimes they send some playbacks to me and say, you find a melody and some lyrics. And that's how we work. We swap and check out. And sometimes Matt already delivers the melody and the words. And he said, hey, Ralf, I know exactly you can do that in that way, and I know you can adapt, and it's exactly what happens, So, yeah, that's how we work in a pretty good teamwork here.
Does the fact that you have 5 songwriters, is that easier to come up with new ideas and, keep on changing things up a little bit in every album?
Exactly. Sometimes it's maybe also, like I said, sometimes we have too much songs. So but in the end, we have learned to be a democratical team. And if we somehow don't release a song this time, like I said, we maybe release it next time. It's no disrespect to anybody in the band. It's just a matter of how the album flow is working. And Matt is the producer, and he has the final word on that in the end.
Metal Commando also, its title, it feels a little bit like old school heavy metal somehow. Is there a story behind the title, and how does it reflect on the songs?
Yeah, it's pretty old school because we already was in the first years we were together. This South German, it's an English expression, but hey, the Metal Commando, it's a little bit South German slang in there as well. And this time it was about time to release that name, because it is fact that we are the Metal Commando. And, you can't invent a wheel new, so it's always a little bit cheesy what you nowadays release, because in some manner it might be there already, but this is our kind of thing, and this is how we release music, or also titles and whatever, so it's unique again,
Interestingly, some of the songs, in my opinion, they got this different meaning probably than you intended them to have due to the current situation of the world. But what are the general themes of this album? And have they kind of changed because we now live in this pandemic
No,
situation?
because it was written before the pandemic, so the album was already mixed when everything came up with that bullshit. In the end, it's sometimes, yes, it's critical. It's also self-reflecting critical. When we talk about Along Came the Devil, we don't talk about the devil, we talk about the synonym, right? It's not really the devil in person. It might never exist anyway, but you know what I mean. So sometimes the bad spheres or the bad eras we had also might reflect sometimes the word devil as a synonym for it. So that's how we always somehow compose. We also have our own experiences in the lyrics, and then we combine with fantasy, we combine with true stories, and make another story out of it, for instance. That's how we write.
So this reflects back on the lyrics again, but I remember in an interview I read while researching, you mentioned that it's for the previous album, it's not the time to write love songs anymore. But I was wondering, with all that's going on in the world and stuff like that, what do you think the normal song for you? Like, do you get your inspiration from everything that's happening, or is it still, the usual?
Yes, we get the inspiration from everything, from politics, from our own life and everything. But coming back to the love song, now we have a love song on it, somehow like a disappointed love song. It's called I Will Be Gone. But, it's never too late, or, you always somehow include love a little bit, because it's a good topic to work with in music, right? Because music's got to do with a lot of feeling and passion and emotions, and that's why love is always included a little bit. Yeah.
How do you make sure that when you write a love song, it's not too cheesy? Because the song you're referring to, it isn't that cheesy in my opinion, but often when bands write about love and stuff like that, it can become.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we try not to be cheesy.
The album ends with the epic Infinity, which is also the longest track on the album. Uh, Made me wonder, if is there a difference between writing 4-minute tracks and writing a 13-minute track, and like, is it more difficult for you guys to keep things interesting within the song?
It's not so difficult because, like I said, we have the songwriters. We have so many souls and brains behind it. As Matt and Magnus they are doing a great job in terms of those epical tracks. And we don't approach and somehow this time we have to be 2 minutes longer, because last time we had 11 minutes. Now it has to be 30. That's not how you approach a song. It's really how the entire song is evolving. The entire song is evolving. And so if you're building different spheres and sectors into a song which still somehow stick together in a red line, why not? I mean, this is the way what we did the last 3 or 4 albums. We have this epical tracks in it because we simply love it. We are also car writers. So if you're driving in your car and listening to those atmospherical songs and look to the landscape, wherever you are in the mountains or the seaside, it's giving you this expression how to make your own picture out of the song.
Obviously, usually bands, they play the long tracks at the end of the album. But how do you usually decide on the order of the tracks? I've had a lot of bands tell me that it's because they're an older band, they kind of do it in the vinyl way. Is there a secret for you guys?
No, I mean, there has to be somehow the variation, the change in an album is also very important. If you have somehow 5, like I said before, if you have 5 up-tempo songs, you can't put them in a row. It's somehow you just separate them a little bit. And yes, sometimes the epic songs might be a little more in the back, because then you already have had the change and it's time to relax a little bit. And then, wow, stop an album with that long track. Then you are somehow maybe curious to listen to the entire thing again.
Um, is that important for you, that the like last track of the album somehow makes you linger a little bit?
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And what about the beginning? What is for you the perfect opening track?
It has to be somehow the standing of what can the listener expect from the album. So, I mean, this time it's I Am Alive, which is also the new single, which is going to be released next Friday. Not this Friday, next Friday. And then we are pretty much know that the people know what they get from Primal Fear, right? So I mean, we released Along Came the Devil as the first single because this is our statement how we started with, for instance, Running in the Dust years ago, 20 years ago, and now in a much more modern way. And that's our statement of how Primal Fear sounds in 2020. Still having the groove, still having the melody, the screams, and the heavy guitars and everything. And that was our intention. And now the intention with the opener is also to show how we also still love the album Nuclear Fire, for instance, where we have the melodies going on and the up tempos, because that's in the end Primal Fear.
How do you overall feel the power metal, speed metal scene has evolved over the years? Because you guys have been pretty consistent within your music, but most power metal bands nowadays, they have this kind of 80s disco vibe going on as well.
Well, I don't know, because, really, if we're doing the Primal Fear thing, we're really focused 100% on what we came from and what we are somehow standing for, because we have to somehow have our own feelings before we release anything. There's the quality gate that this is somehow exactly what we want. So we don't really reflect for what's going on now in the market. That's what we never did. I mean, if you're changing to the popular thing, and which is popular right now, you might be not really somehow honest anymore, and that's what we're trying to keep.
Because of the pandemic, obviously, everyone is given a little bit more time, and I know you guys have been putting out albums like every other year, but given that there are no shows happening, are you guys taking a break after this whole album cycle is done, or are you planning to throw yourself in writing some music again?
There's no time to do any breaks. No matter what you do. I mean, of course, yes, the live action is stripped down because of everything that's going on right now, which is forbidden, but we are still doing a lot of plannings. I mean, 2021 then is going to be a very, very active year in terms of touring the world and doing the festivals. So in the background, the touring management and everybody is working for us, and everybody of us, we are musicians, but we still sing different. I sing different stuff for different projects here and there, and I also have students, and I sell my microphones and so forth. So everybody's still very busy in terms of what he's doing anyway. So we are lucky that we somehow are all musicians, and all professional musicians are still doing our daytime job as a musician.
A lot of bands also have started to do these streaming concerts instead of having real shows. Is that a possibility for Primal Fear as well?
Never say never, but at the moment it's still not easy to come together in the rehearsing room. We would have to rehearse first, because our last concert was 7 months ago, almost, and even longer, I think. And then we would have to rehearse before we do that. Well, never say never, but in heavy metal, I don't know, because I know it's a good thing for acoustic plug-in shows, whatever. And also they're doing the auto kino now, the auto cinema shows, which is not really somehow appropriate to heavy metal, in my opinion, because as you have to have this interaction with the fans, and they're just sitting in the car and blowing the horns after the song. It's kind of weird, so that's what we don't feel at the moment. Maybe it will come, because we wanted to play live, of course, but we are hungry musicians, but not so hungry to play in front of cars so far. So never say never, but at the moment it's just no theme.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously you want to be able to play the new songs live as well. Speaking of, if touring will be possible again, which songs of the album are you looking most forward to play live, and why?
Not decided, not at all, because we didn't come together. Like I said, we did not rehearse, and sometimes you doing songs in the rehearsing studio, which you think now they might not happen live, but then you play it and wow, yes, it happened, so let's do it. And we still have to negotiate this, because some songs work live, some don't. It's also a matter how everybody's playing together, because this in the studio, everybody did his part on his own, and now we will see how it comes together. And that's basically in the end a question of how it works in the rehearsing studio.
If you are touring again, are you planning to do like a European tour with a stop in Finland, or what are the plans about that?
We hope, because it's not up to us always. It's also promoters. It's the
Yeah.
band would love to play everywhere. We like to play everywhere around the globe, but sometimes it's just not happening because that this is also business and there's also a promoter behind it, and also our touring management. They negotiate together, and if it doesn't come together, the musician is not even knowing about it. So we love to play everywhere. So of course, Scandinavia and Finland, that has to be on the map next time.
All right, I think I went through most of my questions and our time is getting up. Anyway, do you have any last thoughts you want to share with people viewing this video and your fans?
Yes, I just want to tell them, be patient, like we all have to do, and hang in there. And music is not stopped, so we release our stuff, and you can still listen to Primal Fear and, of course, every other music as well. So don't give up and hang in there. We will be there again pretty soon. And if it's going to be 2021, we have time. We're young people, so let's be patient and stick together and hang together and keep the faith.